Hey, welcome to The Explainer. Today, we're diving into a really powerful, maybe even life-changing idea from Nassim Nicholas Taleb's masterpiece, Fooled by Randomness. It's all about how easily we mistake pure dumb luck for genius, and how our brains are wired to see skill where there's really just chance.
And that brings us to the question at the heart of all this. I mean, you've seen it, right? You know someone who works their tail off, they're smart, they're dedicated, but they just can't seem to catch a break. And then there's that other person. Maybe they're not as sharp, maybe they take crazy risks, and suddenly they're a millionaire. What is going on there? Is it skill, or is something else entirely at play?
To really dig into this, Taleb introduces us to two characters in his book. Their story perfectly sets up this whole puzzle, and it's the best way to start understanding the hidden, and let's be honest, often deceptive, role of randomness in our lives. So, on one side, you've got Nero Tulip. He's this trader who is incredibly thoughtful, he's cautious, he deeply understands risk, and because of that, he's built a nice, modest career for himself. But then there's his neighbor, John. John is the polar opposite. Nero secretly calls him an overpaid hick. He's loud, he's overconfident, and he takes these massive risks without a second thought. And yet, for years, John just gets richer and richer. His house gets bigger, his cars get fancier, and Nero can't help but start questioning his own careful strategy. And then, one day, it all comes crashing down. The market turns, and John's entire fortune just vanishes. He blows up spectacularly. And this quote just nails the psychological torture Nero was going through. See, on an intellectual level, he knew John was just a lucky fool playing with fire. He knew the strategy was insane. But that didn't stop the envy. He saw the success. He felt that social pressure, that little voice saying, maybe I'm the one who's wrong. It's such a powerful reminder that your brain can know one thing, but your gut can feel something totally different. Okay, so why was John's huge success just an illusion? To really get to the bottom of this, we have to learn a totally new way of looking at the world. It's not enough to look at what did happen. You have to see all the things that could have happened too. Taleb calls this idea alternative histories. Think of it like a giant branching tree of possibilities. Every decision, every random event creates new branches. Well, the reality we experience is just one of those branches. For every single success story we see, there are thousands, maybe millions of other branches that led to failure. But we never see them. They're invisible because they never happened. We only ever see the one outcome that made it through. Now, to really hammer this point home, Taleb uses this dramatic and, frankly, unforgettable thought experiment. Just imagine a game of Russian roulette. So in one version of reality, you pull the trigger on an empty chamber and boom, you instantly win $10 million. You're a hero. You're on the cover of magazines. People are calling you a brilliant, gutsy risk taker. This is the world everyone sees. This is the visible history. But what about those 5 other possibilities? In those 5 alternative histories, the story doesn't end with a mansion and a TV interview. It ends in the cemetery. And here's the absolute key. We don't see the cemetery. We only see the one lucky guy standing there with his $10 million, and we make the huge mistake of thinking his process was brilliant, when in reality, it was suicidal. And this just perfectly shows the difference in the quality of an outcome. As Taleb says, $10 million earned playing Russian roulette is not the same as $10 million earned by being a great dentist. A dentist's wealth is robust. It comes from a low-risk process that you can repeat day after day. The roulette player's wealth? It's incredibly fragile. It's a house of cards built on a single high-risk event that you can never repeat. It's a great question, right? To an accountant, sure, $1 million is $1 million. But when you look under the hood, when you really analyze the risk and the process that got you there, you realize that how you get there matters infinitely more than the destination itself. So if these alternative histories are all around us, why are we so blind to them? Well, the reason we get fooled so easily is because of a really powerful cognitive trap that's hardwired right into our brains. Let's break down how it works. It's called survivorship bias. And it's our natural, almost automatic tendency to focus only on the winners, the people who survived. We see the superstar CEO, the celebrity investor, the person who won the lottery. They're visible, they're loud. But the thousands who tried and failed, they're silent, they're invisible. And this completely distorts our view of how hard it actually is to succeed. This quote from the book just says it all. It's like there's this huge, silent graveyard of failed companies, broke traders, and forgotten startups. But it's hidden from view. All our attention goes to the handful of survivors standing on the podium, which makes us think winning is way more common than it actually is. To really feel the power of this bias, Taleb walks us through this fantastic simulation. Let's do it together. Imagine we conjure up an army of 10,000 investment managers to start. Now, let's say their success is based on nothing more than a coin flip each year. Heads, they have a great year. Tails, they have a bad year and get fired. So after year 1, 5,000 are winners, 5,000 are losers. The losers are gone. We do it again. After year 2, half of the survivors make it, leaving us with 2,500 who have been lucky twice. You keep doing this, and by the end of 5 years, purely by chance, you will be left with around 313 managers who have a perfect 5-year, unbroken winning streak. So, here they are, 313 financial geniuses. But hang on, remember where we started. To find these 313 winners, we had to create an invisible graveyard of 9,687 failures. And nobody ever talks about them. And this is the punchline. These 313 lucky survivors are the only ones you'll ever hear from. They're the ones on financial news channels, writing books called My 7 Secrets to Winning, being praised as visionaries. And we, the public, look at this tiny group of winners and completely forget about the thousands of others who did the exact same things but just had a different coin flip. We mistake their luck for skill. Okay, so this is the really important part. We know we're all vulnerable to this. Our brains are hardwired to see skill and luck and to ignore the mountain of invisible evidence. So what in the world can we do about it? How do we live in a world that's constantly screaming these random success stories at us? Well, for the answer, Taleb looks back to ancient wisdom, to the story of Odysseus from Homer's Odyssey. You see, to sail past the sirens, whose songs were so beautiful they'd lure sailors to their deaths on the rocks, Odysseus didn't just rely on willpower. No, he got practical. He filled his crew's ears with wax so they couldn't hear the song, and then he had them tie him tightly to the mast of the ship. The lesson for us is huge. We can't just tell ourselves, don't be fooled. We have to build actual systems to protect ourselves from our own biases. So what does that look like? It means judging a decision by the quality of the process. Was it logical? Was it sound? Not just by the outcome, which could have been pure luck. It means learning to ignore the short-term noise, all the daily chatter, and focus on the long-term signal. And maybe most importantly, it means being humble. It means acknowledging the role that luck has played, even in our own successes. Look, we are all sailors trying to navigate a pretty random sea. The song of the sirens, those tempting stories of easy success, of lucky fools, that song is always going to be playing. We can't silence it. But we can recognize it for what it is. We can put wax in our ears, tie ourselves to the mast of a solid process, and choose not to steer our ships straight into the rocks. And that leaves us with one final thought to chew on. You can't control luck. You can't eliminate randomness. It's always going to be part of the story. But you can control your process. You can control your preparation. You can control your reactions and your humility. The real goal isn't figuring out how to get lucky. It's about building a life and a strategy that are strong enough to withstand bad luck. So the question is, what can you control? Thanks for joining us.